All right, so in today's video, we have a Bronze 1 Moira. So this Moira said they used to play Mercy, and they wanted to be able to switch to Moira so they could also heal and be able to make kind of those aggressive plays you see with Moira sometimes. They said they really want to get better and want to improve and want to know how to get better because their son, who is in Plat, is always saying something to them about not being in Plat, and they want to be able to climb to Plat so they can win against their son. Quite the storyline here. So let's see how this goes. It's also on a map where Moira could probably be, you know, second point you might struggle a little bit, but first and third Moira can do fairly well. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what we can do to kind of help out with the Moira gameplay here and see if there's anything we notice. All right, here we go. I don't know, Moira, I've talked about it before, like, Moira, if you can find a good balance with Moira with damage and healing, like, you can get a lot done on Moira. I talk about it all the time, and I'm going to pause right away, because what happens with Moira is there's some play styles on Moira where people refuse to, like, be with their team, and they do this thing where, like, you'll either have a Moira on your team who only heals your team the whole time, a Moira who only damages the whole time, and a lot of, like, what you'll see with, like, the really good Moiras is when you find that balance of damage and healing. Like, it's not, like, sometimes in, like, my games when I have a Moira in top 500, you'll hit tab and you'll see the score line. They have, like, 15,000 damage and 15,000 healing. Like a great balance of it because they find ways to get like both of that there, right? So like I think a lot of the time it becomes the play style. You know, if you have the Moira who's in the back line refusing to ever heal and they finish with 10,000 damage and 1,000 healing, then there becomes some of the frustration, right? So it's about finding that balance on Moira where you can do both. There we go. One thing I always look for in Moira, oh, okay. What a start. One thing I always look for is the usage of the damage orb. And what I mean by that is damage orb feeds into your heals, okay? So they changed Moira in Overwatch 2, so when you hit somebody with your damage orb, do you see the resource meter right here? Look where my mouse is. And by the way, little spoiler for future videos that we're doing. I don't know what you call it, but like we're gonna be able to draw on the screen and stuff, and I'm gonna also have that be a thing with the green screen. So soon we're gonna really have some fun with the quality of it. So we're gonna be able to go on there and like draw it on the screen and have some fun. It's gonna really upgrade the experience. Okay, anyway, back to the Moira. But yeah, so what they could like that your damage orb actually will give you the resources for your healing. And a lot of what happens is like if a Moira just sits there and only spams heals, they run out of the resources, they have to wait for their resources. But then when you use your damage orb and you also heal at the same time, it can add value across the board, right? Also, don't you love when you see a Torb turret just get to the limb? When you use your damage orb, try to like at least put it towards where like the Zen was. I know you got the Zen right there, but also keep in mind that, like, how do I explain it? There's no guarantee you're going to win that 1v1. So always try to be a little bit more accurate with where your damage orb is going. Otherwise, you're not going to go there. No. I'm watching. I wouldn't worry too hard about the Sombra right now. I was going to say, like, your Zarya's playing aggro. Like, go work with your Zarya. Good balance there. Also, do you see how the healing resource, when the heals were being used, was going up? That's because the damage orb. Right? You can definitely ult this if you want to. Nice. Good ult usage. Nice. Okay. So far, I like what we're seeing. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I don't mind that. I just want you to also be a little bit wary of tunnel vision and too hard when your team's also playing aggressive. You did a good job of like getting the Sombra to use their cooldown. Nice job there, by the way. Also, I want to point out, so far, the balance has been pretty good between damage and heals. And keep in mind, like, when you're playing Moira, you don't have to just dive into their backline and try to, like, damage them with that. You can still get damage value and good damage orbs with your team. You can, and that can allow you to play both play styles fairly well. You can make those aggressive, like, side flanks, but you're also having a good balance right now, which I think is really important when you're playing. Having a good balance between, like, damage and healing is something that I think is... Whenever I watch people play Moira, that's, like, one of the #1 things I look for. is that balance right there. That was just a good play by their Reaper, and honestly, I actually heard the Reaper shooting at you, but for some reason, I don't think I would have reacted to it either. It was like a weird timing, and like the sound was like, I don't know how to explain that one. That was just a good play. Oh, also, if you haven't followed the cat Instagram or TikTok, it's called What a Swell Tree. I mean, What a Swell Cat. There's videos of the cats and pictures of the cats on there. All three of them. Yeah, you know, from what I'm seeing is you actually have a generally good idea of how you want to balance both your healing and your damage. And then this is like, to give you an idea, because you talked about how you want to keep climbing, I'll be honest with you. I think right now your balance of this is actually fairly solid. It's been pretty good. You're actually understanding to use your ultimate when you need to. This is actually a pretty good step in the right direction. It might be on console, yeah. I think it is, yep. But this has been a pretty good balance of that, I will say. This has been a really good balance of that, so good job. Good job playing aggressive with a damage orb here. I do want to point out, as you climb in ranks, team fights you start to play up here more in defense. But I've talked about it before. I also understand why in like bronze, silver, gold, you see stuff happen down here more. I think both of those are fine. Just don't be surprised that like as you climb, you have to make almost a playstyle adjustment on where you start. But I'm not too worried about that. That's just, I understand why different ranks play in different spots.
Your assistance is appreciated.
No, there's an Instagram and a TikTok for the cats now. Yeah, you know, I gotta say, like, and some people might watch and be like, oh, why don't you go and dive into their backline and doing damage, etc. You don't have to do that. Like, you can still have a really good balance on Moira, and that's kind of what I'm seeing right there. That was pretty good. I was fine with that. The reason why your team's losing is because your team decided that the best play was to take individual 1v1s. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that one. You know, I wasn't looking at that going, oh no. That was just your team playing all over the place. At least in my opinion it was. Big slam. Damage orb. I gotta give credit to that Soldier 76. At no point were they giving up that limb. Okay, so first thing we've seen that I'm not a huge fan of, and this is something that can be super helpful to you, all right? And that is recognize when your teammates are down in numbers so you're not wasting ultimates. A little bit of a side note, just to show people here. You see right here, there's an option that says play sound when a teammate is eliminated. This right here is a really good option to have. This will play a sound when your teammates die. So you can, when you hear that sound, you know not to if you hear that sound a lot in like a 10-second window, it's probably not the best time to ult. And it's also kind of like a sound cue for that. Second of all, there's also the other one that when you eliminate enemies. Personally, I don't do that one. I'm just not used to it. It doesn't mean it's a bad setting. And if you have that on, that's probably also good. But that can be super helpful in that situation. Okay, so next step here. All right, when you have a bad ultimate, the better play is to go and regroup with your team rather than dive into their team. And now we're seeing a bit of like that. Okay, now we're seeing a little bit too much of like, oh, I need to go make a play right now because you mentioned you switched to Moira because you want to have more playmaking ability. The only play that you really helped with there was the other team, right? You went into there, you gave them free limbs, and you wasted your ultimate. So you have to try to improve on that side of things, and this is also good because I feel like you have a general good idea on how you want to balance your damage and healing for the most part. Obviously, you can play more aggressive if you want to. Things like that, and that will probably happen as you climb a little bit more with playstyle adjustments, but you have a general understanding of how your kit works, and I think that's one of the first steps of Moira to begin with, is like realizing, okay, I can do this. Okay, now I see it. Yeah, okay, so we got to talk about this. Okay, I gotta pause. What has been the difference between the first half and the second half on Moira now? You went from finding that really good balance, right, to now trying to go in and make these plays that you don't even have to try to make. Just because you have one bad team fight does not mean that you have to start just going in and, like, doing everything you weren't doing before. What happened right there? You lost 2 of your teammates already. You weren't even focused on keeping your teammates alive at that point. You were focused on doing damage to a Soldier 76, and look what's happened. This is the kind of the part where you need to start to, like, just be like, okay, we're gonna stop for a second, we're gonna regroup, and we're gonna get back with the team, and we're gonna focus on what was working, not have to switch up what we were doing to begin with, right? And look what happens. You're already getting rolled right away, and so was the team fight. The first part of it was great. The second part has been a bit of a struggle.
A cure for all the tales.
That's on your Bastion. Don't worry about that. Big slam! So here's where we're kind of at right now. What has shifted your playstyle? Why have you done that, right? Now listen, this is where I talk about this type of stuff. Hi, buddy. Good boy. Okay, this is where I kind of talk about this stuff when it comes to playstyle adjustments. Why did you go from how you were playing on attack to how you're playing like this on defense? What prompted that? What was the reason? Because nothing's changed about how the other teams played outside of you losing one team fight. And the only thing that shifted outside of that is you have now shifted your playstyle after losing one team fight. That is it. This is why I say it's always good to see how you play when you're stomping a team and then when you're getting stomped, because your playstyle adjustment has been your biggest issue right here. You made an adjustment to your play without even having to. I didn't see you do any of that play for the most part on the first half when your team was dominated. Next thing I know, now you're faded into their back line, and like just it's not going well for your team. Now don't get me wrong, like why is your Zarya playing aggressive up there? That could also prompt that, but that even then, like the way that you're playing it right now has been very interesting. Are you noticing this? Why? To give you an idea, you ready? I'm gonna tell you what in theory you would want to do, or what in theory what you would want to do in that situation. Okay, you ready? Your team got a pick. They rezzed 1. They now have 4. Okay? So you have 2 options. Get rolled in their backline or wait on your team. You went with the first option of getting rolled in the backline, right? Your Genji was too aggressive. In those situations, no matter what rank you are, the best thing you can do, especially when you get a pick with your spawn being this close, is just to play over here. If they get aggressive on you, you can ult and fade away if you need to, right? You don't have to make a play at that point because you're going to have numbers before the card even gets there. The only way you're going to play into their team is by giving them free limbs. And what did you do? You just gave them free limbs, you and the Genji. We're like, hey, you know what? We got a pick. I feel bad about that. I'm going to go into your team now and get rolled. And that's what you just did. Now, whether or not you win this team fight, we'll see. But that is not how you want to play that. Now they have a Moira ult. Why don't you have Moira ult? Because you decided to Moira ult their backline. Thankfully, they got too aggressive too. This is fine now because their team. Yeah, you're fine now with this. This is fine. That's a good timing on the aggression. Now you need to stay alive with your. Almost healed their Echo. Thankfully. Oh no. Heal an orb if you need to.
Your end is within my reach.
When you play Moira, you just can't resist the urge to feed. I mean, I'm sure if I played Moira, I'd play a little bit too aggro. 100%. I think if I played more Moira over time, I probably would make adjustments to that, right? But yeah, I can see myself when I first started. If I started playing Moira, I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna start playing Moira. I would probably overfeed for quite a bit until I found like that balance for sure. That's why it's good to watch the VODs, because I can help try to find that balance.
Adaptive circuits engaged.
Zarya definitely plays aggro. Well, that's not good. Uh-oh. Cursed, thanks for the 4 months of the tier 1. Thank you, appreciate it. Or Kirst, thank you. So yeah, I mean, honestly, the difference between the first half and the second half was that you decided to play a much more aggressive Moira, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work. Well, it's on that system, Yeetus, but yeah, soon. What rank? This is bronze 1. Okay. I'm curious to see something here. I'm watching. Here we go. Be careful, by the way, because they're going to come from spawn. And you just wasted your cooldown. Okay, so... why? And this is kind of where I think if you're watching this, when you're watching this back, you're gonna have a general idea of things you can improve on. When you're making this play, when you're doing something like this, why? I want you to think about what was working and what wasn't. And what you need to do now, and this is where you're going to improve it as Moira in general. Remember what was working in the first half? Go back to that. What was funny about this is the first about 30 seconds of this round, you did exactly what you did in the first half, and it was looking great. Then you're like, oh, I need to fade into their spawn and make 6 plays, and then get rolled. And now you're back in spawning. You see the difference between a good play here and a bad play? About how, like, this is almost like, what do you call, like, unforced errors that you're doing, right? I think that's something that they'll call it, like, when you watch, like a football game or something, like unforced errors, right? Where you're not even, like, the other team isn't even doing anything to, like, have you do that. It's just you doing that. Like, nothing prompted you to go dive into their spawn outside of you deciding to do that. And that's it. Okay, let's see what happens. On the flank. This could work initially, but I want you to fall back before they... Gonna pause for a second. So what is... I just wanted to let that team fight happen. So what happened there? What was the problem? Because this is what the Moira's gonna say is this, right? You ready? The Moira's gonna go, I just got 3 picks. How'd we lose that? Well, let's ask your teammates who weren't getting healed. Let's go ask them how you lost that. Do you see the difference between what's happening in that situation? You're going, I just got 3 picks. What are we doing? Your team's going, I wasn't getting healed. What's going on? You see? And what's the difference between the first half and the second half? First half, you were with your team and they were unkillable. Second half, you're going on these large flanks, almost making plays, but your teammates are just getting rolled because they're by themselves. They have a Kiriko there, and Kiriko can heal your teammates for a little bit, but they can't handle the AoE damage that Moira can do with a good healing orb, you know, left-click combo. Do you see what's happening? And that's the difference. You gotta find that balance. Moira's all about finding that balance. That aggressive play that you did can work sometimes, but your teammates need to be out of, like, a choke. But they weren't. You just went on a flank instead of going on a flank. Your teammates should win this, by the way. You have every ult, they don't. Yeah, you're gonna win this. There's just no way. This is finally your team has every ult in the game. So that's totally up to you, Eddie, on that one. That's gonna be like a choice for you on that one. Oh, you said just go hog and go on the flank for 5 minutes? That's what, yeah, I agree, that's the way to do it. So anyway, we'll see how you play attack now. I cannot believe there was a Bastion up there. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't even look at that. I didn't even see that Bastion. I wasn't really paying attention to it, but like, behind you's an Echo. There's an Echo behind you. There you go. Okay, do you see that Echo? You saw that Echo, right? That was you, by the way, as Moira on defense. That was you as Moira on defense. Damage orb, and... Yeah, you don't need a damage orb. And keep your teams alive now. Keep your team alive. I want you to just focus on keeping your team alive for a second. Also, it's okay if you want to get your Kiriko by just letting them TP to you. Uh-oh. This was very nice of the other team just to run into you over and over again. Oh, so do you notice how you're not fading into their back line and just running into their team? That's what you were doing the other way. See this? You notice the difference here? Before on defense, okay, so this is, I already know where you can adjust your play. This is gonna be, that's fine, by the way. This one's fine because you know you have the numbers. Yep. And you heal an orb to make sure everybody's fine on point. Perfect. Okay, let's talk about that very quickly. Okay, so this one for me is actually a pretty easy, like, not response to this one, but like, I can pretty much give you the one bit of advice I saw. You had a pretty good balance until you did it. And the reason why is because you just changed your play styles. On attack, you play safer. On defense, you go into their back line. Why? I want you to apply the same playstyle you had on attack of this game, right? I want you to apply the same playstyle you just had this game on both sides of the map, and you'll see better results. I'm telling you right now. Defense, when you playing on defense is way different than you playing on attack. I don't know why, but that is the one thing I saw. You do that, and I think you'll be in a good spot. That's the one thing I saw. Now, obviously, you can be more accurate with your orbs, your movement, all that stuff. That's fine, but I want you to apply that same playstyle, same concept in your future games and see where it gets you. Because that's the difference was your play style. You just played two different play styles for absolutely no reason. I like, yes, sometimes it's more you have to go make a play, but you don't have to go and just like make a play to make a play. It's okay to just damage orb right next to your team. Get that damage output, keep your teammates alive, and win as a core. Obviously, each game will play differently, but I want you to try that. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to all 3 YouTubes if you haven't. We have everyday uploads on there, a lot of awesome videos. If you want to submit your own spectator, look in the description below. You'll see my Discord. That is where you do that. We record these live on stream. You can see the Twitch chat right there below the webcam. Stop by. We have a lot of fun here. With that being said, hope you have an amazing day/night.